Good evening, everyone. I am so excited to see you all tonight. I will be chairing our meeting this evening, so please bear with me. We'll go ahead and get started with this evening's agenda. I don't know where the land acknowledgement is, so I'm going to pause for 1 second and be right back. So sorry about that, everyone. I had it tucked away in some other legislation. I thought it was something else, so sorry about that. So let me go ahead and screen share our agenda for the evening. So yeah, I officially call this meeting to order at 7:06 p.m. And we will not do our Pledge of Allegiance via Zoom. However, I would like to start off our meeting by reading a land acknowledgement. I want to begin our Student Senate meeting taking place on Thursday, October 29th, 2020, with a land acknowledgement. We recognize that Kansas State University, as the first land-grant institution, stands on the ancestral lands of the Kaw people. Our state of Kansas is the home of 4 federally recognized Native nations: the Iowa, the Kickapoo, the Prairie Band Potawatomi, and Sac and Fox. We must remember that the land serving as the foundation for this institution was, and still is, stolen land acquired by white settlers. We pledge our commitment to creating decolonized spaces at the university, while advocating for the support and future success of Indigenous faculty, staff, and students at K-State. All right, with that, I will turn it over to intern Nick tonight. He is taking our minutes and roll for us, so please take it away as soon as I mute myself.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nick. Please just say here when you're here. Atchison?
Here.
Bain?
Here.
Booz?
Here.
Brown?
Here.
Bruce? Brummett? Bruna? Burke?
Here.
Carlson? Carr? Clements?
Here.
Colburn?
Here.
Croslow?
Here.
De Santiago? Diaz de Leon?
Here.
Dillaboo?
Here.
Doc?
Here.
Fox?
Here.
Frederick?
Here.
Gallardo? Garrett?
Here.
Glasscock?
Here.
Grills? Grolmes?
Here.
Hamlin? Harmon?
Here.
Hurd?
Here.
Heimerman,
Here.
Hernandez,
Here.
Hutchings,
Here.
Jim Bunathan,
Here.
Kidd,
Here.
Levi,
Here.
Loya,
Here.
Manners,
Here.
McKee, McVeigh, Muthukumar,
Here.
Knoll,
Here.
Nunick,
Here.
Phillips,
Here.
Tanakatu,
Here.
Porter,
Here.
Purdy,
I'm here. Did you hear me?
yes. Rischenberg, Rodriguez,
Here.
Rossi, Shunjay, Blaine Snyder,
Here.
Ben Snyder,
Here.
Vance, Vulgamore,
Here.
Wallace, Ward, Wells,
Here.
Wilcox,
Here.
Willis,
Here.
and Weinholz. Okay. There are 41 senators present this evening. Is there anyone's name I did not call? Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Okay, sorry about that. Can you, oh, excuse me. Can we all please put some little clapping reactions on our screens for intern Saya? He did a great job this evening, so thank you so much, Nick. Up next, we move into our open period speakers. Our first open period speaker is from K-State Proud, and his name is Skylar Zinger. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, Skylar. I will go ahead and share your PowerPoint whenever you're ready.
Of course, of course. Well, thank you all for letting me join for a little bit to speak about some of our current initiatives. Kind of wait until Maggie gets all of that brought up. But I hope all of your semesters are going pretty well. I know everything looks pretty different, but there's one thing that's not different, and that's students in need. And so I'm super excited to be here on behalf of Student Foundation and more specifically K-State Proud to talk about how we're combating a lot of that. So I'm here to present to SGA about the K-State Proud Early Edition Campaign Initiative. I'm sure quite a few of you have heard of this either from past campaigns or you're involved in another student organization or Greek Life chapter that's participating this semester as well. Maggie, if you want to go ahead and move forward, please. You should be able to just scroll. Yeah, no, you're fine.
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Awesome. So yeah, just a little bit of background for any interns or anyone else who's not quite sure what Early Edition is. It's the fall initiative of K-State Proud to kind of get the word out of our new logo and our t-shirts early, kind of as a precursor to K-State Proud weeks that come up in February. So the main thing is we ask specific groups to make donations and then receive the brand new shirt for the year, which has the new logo on it, which was made by a student over the summer, voted on by Student Foundation this fall, and is printed on the t-shirts. And that logo is on the next slide. So yeah, this is the 2020-2021 logo. It'll be on a gray t-shirts, and it'll be those colors, just a little bit darker purple. You know how digital graphics go sometimes. So we're super excited that we have such great participation from our students, but we also know that we need a little bit more donations in terms of money in order to supply our Student Opportunity Awards. So Maggie, if you want to move on to the next one, I think that goes a little bit more in depth. So yeah, why donate? So each donation for a t-shirt is $20, and 100% of that goes towards a Student Opportunity Award. And what that award is a needs-based scholarship to anybody that attends K-State, whether they're a graduate student or undergraduate student. They apply for an SOA, then they're going to get money from us. And if not money, then assistance in meeting whatever need that they're having a barrier to. And what's super unique is when you donate for a K-State Proud t-shirt, we don't use any of your money to pay printing costs or for the t-shirts or whatever it is. 100% of that $20 is going straight to a student in need. And it's super important this year as we've all been impacted by COVID. Our SOA fund is very low. So we're welcoming any and all monetary donations, even if it's not completely to $20, even a $5 donation is super, super important to making sure that we keep our K-State family peers here on campus as long as possible. Kind of to make it a little bit more fun though, is at the end of the campaign, we give away awards to K-State's proudest organization. So that'll go to Greek chapters, to student organizations, and also the residence halls. Maggie, I think we're ready for the next slide. So here's the link to donate. I was also gonna drop it in the chat if that's okay. But like I said, a lot of you should have direct access to this through your own student organizations that you're a part of, or even Greek chapters that you're involved with. But we recognize that it's been very difficult for everybody since March to continue going to college. And I've had some really close friends who outside of COVID have come down with other severe medical issues or financial struggles. And we have to understand that with these really crazy times comes a sense of grace and togetherness that we know need to be exhibited. So I really encourage you all to consider donating. Enjoy my roommate's cat as he leaves my bed. But yeah, if there's any questions, I would love to answer those right now.
Thank you so much, Skylar. That was very informative. If anyone has any questions for him, please indicate so in the chat. If no one else has a question, I actually have one really quick, if that's okay.
Yes, of course.
When will like normal tabling and t-shirt donations and everything begin?
That's a great question. So our normal donation times will start up here in early February. So obviously with COVID guidelines and restrictions, it's going to look quite different than it has in the past, but you can expect to see us again in February as we try to spread the word and raise money for students on campus.
Awesome, thank you so much. In the chat, I see that Chair Lily Colburn has a question for you.
Yeah, hey Skylar. I was just wondering, I hear a lot about like K-State Proud and donating money for the t-shirts and just donating money to K-State Proud, which I think is really awesome. I think you all do a great job of that. What kind of outreach or advertisement, I guess, do you do to make sure that students have access to know how to apply to those SOAs and to receive an award?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're plugged in with the financial aid office here on campus. So anytime there's a student that requests need from them that they think would be great as an applicant for our SOAs, the financial aid office directs them straight to our SOA chair. And we have SOA committees each week to allot certain amounts of money. So a typical award is anywhere around $1,000, give or take a couple, just depending on the situation. Sometimes some gifts are a little bit larger than others. But then we also are plugged in through Instagram, Facebook, and all that kind of stuff. And whenever we run campaigns like this and the one in February, as students stop by to donate, we also make sure to share information about the SOAs just in case they know somebody in need. So a lot of it's word of mouth, but we're also really connected with the financial aid office to ensure that we're keeping our friends and family here. Great question. Thank you.
Awesome. Chair Brown, I have you next.
I actually had the same question as Lily, so I'm good. Thank you.
I will say the SOA committee meetings that happen each week are open to the public. So if you need a little bit of an inspiration of why we do what we do, then that's a great opportunity to sit in and see kind of what your peers and the people you're representing as senators are going through.
Thanks for that. Chair Booz, go for it.
Yeah, hey, thanks for coming in. You mentioned that all of the money that we would donate actually goes directly to the Student Opportunity Awards, which is pretty cool. How then are you printing the shirts? Like, did you get a grant for them, or like through other foundation funds or something else?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm not quite sure how much I can disclose just because it is foundation information, but we partner a lot with the trustees and they usually make a pretty great donation that covers all the costs of printing and buying the t-shirts. So we're able to do these types of initiatives. So it's people that give a lot to K-State, that care about the campus that they graduated from or work at or have been around for years. They like to give back as much as they can. And that's super inspiring for us as Student Foundation members to kind of keep that at the heart of every message too, that behind everyone in need, there's another person helping to make sure that that need's met.
Cool, great, thanks.
Okay, anybody else have a question? All right, if not, Skylar, thank you so much for sharing with us this evening, some really valuable information, and thank you for all that you do for students on our campus.
Great, thank you all for your time, and here's that link if you're interested in donating. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you. Okay, up next, we have one more open period speaker for the evening. And that is Kelly Brundage from the University Calendar Committee. We're very excited to have you this evening, Kelly, hopefully with some good news for us. So thank you so much for being here, and I'll screen share the website that you sent me.
Thank you again. Thank you everyone for having me. For those of you that I have not met, I am your University Registrar, Kelly Brundage. I have been here since January, so I'm on month 10. And I am the chair of the University Calendar Committee, which has been the committee that's received a lot of those changes that you've all experienced, definitely as students, since the summer semester forward. What I asked to show a little bit was our website. So pretty simple and easy to get to, k-state.edu/registrar/calendar. This site is kind of a living, breathing item at the moment. And really what I want to do is give you a little bit of background and then really open the floor for questions, your feedback, conversation. The committee in and of itself is revamping itself a little bit, looking for ways that we can do things differently and better. Can't guarantee that we can make all the changes that everyone wants, but we're really talking about what needs to be on an academic calendar for students and the community at large versus what are other items that need to be referenced in other places. At the moment, what I start out with is the 2 PDF versions. Those are completely designed for those that want something quick and printable. And it shows holistically the calendar as it exists kind of today. What I recommend is it does change, and it does shift. more than it probably normally would. So outside of some of the COVID adjustments and changes we've had, this is usually pretty well set in the process. So if you're not familiar with it and you have a few representatives that sit on our committee, is we produce to KBOR a 3-year cycle, but we kind of do it out 5 years at a time of the shell of the start and end of the semester, and then maybe when commencement is and holidays. And then the calendar committee starts to fill that information in between, and that's where you start to see some of these dates. It can get a little complicated because at face value, I think people think that we can choose when we want to start, we can choose when we want to end. We do have some confines around that as provided by KBOR. We also have instructional day minimums we have to meet. KBOR has defined, although K-State was ahead of the curve, but has defined recently what week spring break should occur in for future semesters. So we work through all of those nuances and we create the normal shell for the 16 weeks, and then you start to trigger out from there. So if you go back to our main page, the next thing we have there, and this is kind of more recent, it's come up, is when you don't have a class that's in 16 weeks, where do I find that information? Well, first and foremost, you can always find it on your class, right? You can go into CASIS, you can look at your class schedule, there's a little calendar icon, and when you click on it, it actually gives you key dates around your class, right? When the class starts, when the class ends. Currently, the terminology, which we are very aware of and having conversation about, it might say drop with penalty, drop without penalty. That really means like dropping or withdrawing. But this is where you can find that information as well by class. You could actually go in and click on the class, and it gives you a little bit of a layout there too. So with some instruction of how you go about there. The next component below is actually the academic calendar off of the university event calendar. And so, yeah, if you click on that link, what I show is about 14 days at a time on our website. But here is where you can actually navigate forward or backwards specific to the academic calendar. So over there on the left-hand side where you see, if you want to see, hey, what's going on in November, you can click to a certain week to see what was specific to the academic calendar. So everything I have in that PDF, we also have on this electronic calendar here. The cool thing about this calendar is that you can actually add it to like your Outlook, your Gmail. So you can add key things, you can say you're interested and get those loaded to your calendar, to your personal calendar if there's core things that you want to be aware of when they start. That kind of is the 50,000-foot view of the calendar. What happens with the calendar committee is we typically are charged with, we're charged with the core and the shell of the calendar and working through that process. But in this year with COVID, we've also been charged with discussion or receiving recommendations and updates. Sometimes we are all fortunate enough that we might be able to bring the conversation forward and have some conversation. Sometimes those options are weighed differently and they come to the committee for initial discussion and review. And then and we approve, and sometimes we've had to make some hard choices, obviously. I know spring break was one of those. But that does not necessarily mean they're permanent in perpetuity, right? Kind of one-off, dealing with some unusual, unprecedented times. But I can tell you that the committee as a whole, both the students, faculty, and staff that are on it, represent you well and have students at the heart and soul of the conversation. Even though they have some needs, we're constantly talking about how we can make this process better for students. And what are some of the core things that are needed. So with that, I would really like to turn it over to, I'm very interested in feedback, how we can do things better on our website. Are there things missing? I'll give you an example. One item that was brought forward was, I think sometimes you might have surveys or things that are brought forward that are required before you can enroll. Unfortunate part is I have no way to get those all on the calendar for you. But what I can tell you is the university is very aware of the different types of holds that might be out there that are preventing enrollment. And there is a very legitimate conversation going on. They're not all going to be solved immediately, but they are talking about what should prevent enrollment and what should not, outside of the financial confines that are already granted to us through KBOR, where they kind of define the financial restrictions. But it was a great conversation, a good thing to learn. I'm not familiar necessarily with some of those surveys that had been generating holds, so it opened up a different conversation on our side for me to run some data and get that provided back to administration. Nothing's off the table. You guys bring a good perspective there. So I'd like to turn it over to feedback, comments, questions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for all of that helpful information, Kelly. If anyone has anything, please just indicate so in the chat and I'll recognize you. Oh, Chair Booz, go for it.
Yeah, thank you for coming out as well. I know in the past, like I haven't really used the calendar page that much. Like I've just kind of searched for the beginning and end of semester and that sort of thing. I think part of that is like, you know, on your page, like right now it's displaying like spring 2021 early enrollment begins at like for all of the events in the events section, and like they all have the same logo. You know, and so like it's obviously a multi-day event, but it's not like being displayed super well. So anyway, and just like all of the events having the logo of the registrar also makes it hard to differentiate between them as well. So I mean, I'm not sure like if that's the sort of feedback you wanted, but like that's been a little bit of my experience with the calendar in general.
Sure. No, that's actually great feedback. So ironically, we had to create that logo so that it could stand out that you were engaging with the academic calendar. Having come in after this was all created, I would have, instead of said registrar, would have said academic calendar on that logo. But what that does is it delineates when you're on the university calendar, right? If you going through from the link, it's actually taking you to the academic calendar. But if you just go to events.kstate.edu, you actually are getting the whole calendar, like every event happened on campus, things in McCain and whatever. And there's actually a link that says academic calendar, and then it takes you to this view where it will only pull things that are tagged with the academic calendar. So that is a great point, is that we really do need to talk about as we work through that system a little bit more. And I actually am working with the event staff at the moment to figure out how to fix this. I don't like how this pulls into my calendar at all, at my webpage. It used to pull 180 days worth. So I was really glad to get it down to 14 days because that's where you guys just stop looking at the page scrolled forever. But I'll take that back because we do need to find some better ways of showing that. So great point, thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, in the context of the full calendar, the logos do help like differentiate the thing. So yeah, it's more just
Right.
the stuff that's on your page. Yeah.
Right.
Cool, thanks for that, Chair Booz. Anybody have anything else?
I know you're gonna have thoughts, and I take nothing personally, truly. So.
Kelly, would it be okay if I shared your email with the body?
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you run across things or you got other stuff, please send it our way and share. You, like I said, you're my focus group. You're my forum. I talk to my student workers all the time in the office too, and in our division. This is for students, so we need to figure out how to do it better and differently, and really get you details and information. So I will acknowledge some of you probably didn't even know this existed. So this is new and different for you. So please play around with it, use it, figure out if we're missing things, you know, and send it my way, and we will get it in conversation with the calendar committee.
Thank you for that. I will put your email in our minutes when they get distributed to everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here this evening. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, and with that, let's move back to our agenda. We are finished with open period, so now we will move into approval of the minutes. I will seek a motion for any question, or excuse me, are there any corrections for the minutes? They were distributed on Monday. Okay, seeing no corrections, I would now entertain a motion to approve the minutes. All right, moved by Senator Crosslow. Can I get a second? I don't know if I need a second. All right, seconded by Senator Hurd. Thank you so much for that. And now we'll move down to announcements. So let me see if I can zoom in on that. Okay. Announcement number 1, SGA is currently looking for students to serve on the elections committee for the coming year. Members of the elections committee will assist with enforcing elections regulation, publicizing elections, and performing any additional tasks needed by the elections commissioner. Members of this committee cannot run for any office or endorse any candidates, making this an excellent position for people leaving SGA next year or who are interested in judicial branch activities. The application is due as soon as possible and can be accessed at that link. So I know from conversations that I've had with Speaker Bothwell and Elections Commissioner Coleman, we really need positions or folks to fill those positions. So if you're at all interested, go ahead and apply or reach out to Elections Commissioner Coleman with more questions. Technology Director Arian Tile is looking, Arian, I believe is his name. Tile is looking for members to serve on the technology committee. This group will advise the IT group and give feedback to administration on how to best serve everyone on campus. The group will also give feedback on classroom tech, SGA projects, K-State programs and websites, etc. Meetings will occur once a month throughout 2020-2021 school year. And if you're interested, please fill out the Google form linked below. If you have any questions, please reach out to Arian. His email's right there, and there's the application link. If you're voting early by mail or in person and would like to be featured in a fun short video with other SGA members, please fill out the form linked there. I think that's the GR committee that's sponsoring that, so thanks to them. CSI is hosting a pumpkin decorating activity this week to celebrate fall/Halloween. Students can pick up pumpkins from our staff in the office until tomorrow, which is Friday at 4 p.m. We encourage students to paint, carve, or decorate in other ways and share your pumpkin creations with us on social media while tagging CSI on either Twitter or Instagram. And that moves us into proxies for the week. Just a reminder, if you're going to be absent from Student Senate, please fill out the proxy form at that link, even if you aren't sure if your absence will be excused. So this week we have Braun for Brummett, Gromez for Richenberg, Phillips for Grills, Ward for Carlson, Wells for Windholtz, Clements for Vance, and Colburn for Gallardo. I have another announcement really quickly from Vice President Lundeen. He said that the educational EOF sent the initial recommendations out yesterday. They had to make some really tough decisions on projects that they felt were very important but weren't able to be funded because they were $90,000 over budget due to reduced enrollment. They'll meet again for final action on Wednesday. And then the SGA member of the week were the Senate Operations Committee for their work and diligence on reviewing the SGA elections neutrality idea. While the idea was ultimately scrapped, we appreciate all the members who submitted ideas and had a healthy debate on the topic. Yeah, big shout out to Senate Ops. They really keep our boat floating. So thank you so much, Senate Ops. And then there you can see the calendar for the week. And finally, our quote of the week is by Simon Sinek, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. And it reads, "Leadership is a service. Service comes with sacrifice. No sacrifice, no service, no leader." All right. We'll scroll back up. There are no commendations this evening, no approval of appointments. So now I will turn it over to you all for committee reports. So are there any committee chairs who would like to give a report? Chair Booz, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I'm showing up on your screens a lot tonight. Yeah, I just wanted to update you a little bit on what Senate Operations Committee is doing, just because if you don't know, I'm the chair. And so, yeah, so let's start with that neutrality idea. We were, investigating an idea that would have required that maybe the top 2 people in each branch to basically not endorse anyone if they were running a / not support a campaign. And we ended up, after like extensive deliberation, scrapping that. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask me or a member. So we're also still working on other elections changes, including making sure that the campaign, like you can't campaign in Zoom events and that sort of thing. Like we haven't had problems with that as well. Make sure it covers that and other changes as well. So if you have feedback, please let me know. And then I'm also working on filling vacancies. So if no one resigns and it goes according to plan, we should have all of our 60 student senators by 2 weeks from now. So that would be cool. So yeah, if you have any questions, please ask or email me.
Any questions for Chair Boos? Okay, seeing none, thanks so much, Andrew. Are there any other committee chairs who would like to give a report? Okay, seeing none, that moves us into directors' reports. Are there any directors who would like to give a report this evening? Okay, you guys are making it easy on us tonight. There's no college caucus time, and we have no minor allocations, so that moves us straight into final action. Final action, the first one is Bill 2021-05, amendments to the KSU SGA statutes regarding the Diversity Programming Committee Reserve Account, which was referred favorably from Senate Exec. The author is me, so I'll just scroll down to it really quickly. Oh, yes, excuse me. Can I please have a motion to consider Bill 15? All right, moved by Senator Crosslow. And could I please have a second? Seconded by Senator Grolmes. Thank you so much. So there really weren't any major changes in our review. I will point out that on line 15, we added a comma after the whereas clause, and we fixed the spelling on the word withdrawals. And then in section 1, we just edited this sort of sentence to make a little bit more sense in its readability. So yeah, that's just about, oh, yes. That is just about all on that. Thank you, Caucus Leader Phillips, for that. I didn't know that, so thank you. As for debate, just, I kind of touched on this last week, but our DPC reserve account is just nowhere in any of our governing documents. So there's really no process with which to pull any funding out of reserves. So basically this is just slapping in wording showing how we could do that. This bill is proposing that the DPC chair, with approval from the Student Senate, could pull up to $50,000 in additional funds from the reserve account. So just some history on that reserve account. It was created in 2015 and has had a steady increase in money in it since then. And so now it's sitting at about $147,000 and has had no withdrawals since its creation in 2015. So yeah, I just think that's kind of irresponsible. And so we need to have legislation showing us how to go about that process. This is also very necessary for this year since we did take a 60% cut with all of the privilege fee reviews and callbacks. So yeah, with almost $150,000 being in it, at pulling out the full $50,000 each year. It would take 3 whole years to deplete it. However, I don't see that happening. But yeah, I think that this is beneficial to us, so please vote yes. That's all for my debate. I would now entertain any debate in the negative. Further debate in the positive? Any debate at all? Oh, excuse me. I didn't ask for questions. Are there any questions for me? Okay. Any more debate at all? Okay, seeing none, I will turn it over to Nick for a roll call vote.
Okay. First. Atchison,
Yes.
Bain,
Yes.
Booz,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Bruce, Brummett,
Yes by proxy.
Bruna, Burke, Carlson,
Yes by proxy.
Carr, Clements,
Yes.
Colburn,
Yes.
Croslow,
Yes.
De Santiago, Diaz de Leon,
Yes.
Dillaboo,
Yes.
Doc,
Yes.
Box, Frederick,
Yes.
Gallardo,
Yes by proxy.
Garrett,
Yes.
Glasscock,
Yes.
Grills,
Yes by proxy.
Grolmaz,
Yes.
Hamlin,
Yes.
Harmon, Hurd,
Yes.
Heimerman,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Hutchings, Jim Bunathan,
Yes.
Kidd,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Loya,
Yes.
Manners,
Yes.
McKee, McVeigh, Muthukumar,
Yes.
Knoll,
Yes.
Norwood, Nunick,
Yes.
Panicatu,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Porter,
Yes.
Purdy, Rickenberg,
Yes, by proxy.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Rossi,
Yes.
Shunji, Blaine Snyder,
Yes.
Ben Snyder,
Yes.
Vance,
Yes, by proxy.
Vulgamar,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Ward, Wells,
Yes.
Wilcox, Willis, Winholtz.
Yes, by proxy.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. With 45 votes, that passes unanimously.
Are you muted? Okay, cool. Thank you so much, intern Saya. You're really killing the game there tonight. Thank you for that. Moving on with our agenda, we are now at resolution 33 opposition to online course fees. Will the author of this piece please come forward? I'll scroll down to that. Have any changes been made?
Yeah, so in Senate Exec, we made some changes. First, we added Lily and Carissa as authors. And then on line 17, the line now says, no evidence, student input, or review from the Tuition and Fee Strategies Committee. And then down right around line 51, we combined the 3 whereas clauses for each tuition increase statement just into one. At line 64 and 65, we changed it to say student oversight, and then the addition at the very end of or college-specific course fees. And then in section 2, right around line 100, 101, we just specified who the presentation would be to, stating to KSU SGA during Student Senate. And then we added a section 3 that requests a review by the Tuition and Fee Strategies Committee for the Global Campus Fee, and then just renumbered section 4. And those were the changes that we made.
All right, Blake, you have first right to debate.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And good evening, everyone. So as you all know, COVID-19 has had a lot of negative impacts, as we've all experienced through months of quarantine and just in general. COVID has not been a lot of fun. And one negative impact, in my opinion, that has come out of COVID is the $70 online course fee. And as you all know, this decision was announced a few weeks before the start of the fall 2020 semester. And this really came as a shock to a lot of students. I know that I personally had no idea this was coming. A lot of our SGA leadership had no idea this was in the works. And so this was really just a shock. And in my opinion, this fee has a few problems. And this resolution addresses some of these problems with this fee. So first, a little to no student input was considered in this fee whatsoever. This was not brought up to Tuition and Fee Strategies Committee, SGA leadership, anything like that. And so really there was no input on this fee, which is normally a process that we go by, at least for college specific fees. And it really would have been something that we would have liked to have input on. And second, the global campus fee, which this fee is considered a reduction of, has never applied to the number and volume of classes that it does today. When we look at the statistics on this, about 34% of total classes are now 100% online due to COVID-19. And this accounts for 44% of the actual seats.
basically what this means is that those larger classes, meaning they're likely to affect more students, are trending more online. And so a lot more of those seats are online. And based on this information, it can be inferred that the average student has about 2 classes that are completely online. And if you take like on average, a class is 3 credit hours, this would increase each student's cost of attendance by about $420 per semester. And if you remember back to the spring, K-State actually went into the Kansas Board of Regents and requested a 0% tuition increase for the first time in years. And K-State was praised for this decision. However, if you put this fee on the same level as tuition, this represents almost a 10% tuition increase since this applies to a large number of students. This has also had a negative effect on our graduate students and our international students, as a lot of tuition waivers and scholarships are unable to be covered when the cost is in fees, since it covers tuition. And so really the financial impact of this has been significant. Third, when we look in cases when we're enrolling for classes, the classes that are 100% online are not designated as having additional fees. And this can really lead to some misleading decisions when students are choosing their courses. And so really administration and cases in general needs to be more reflective of this and show the actual cost of what a class is going to be. And then finally, in my opinion, there's just not been enough transparency with this fee. The only rationale that I have received as a student and generally the student body is that this fee was for training for online instruction and some technology improvements. We have no idea really exactly where this fee is going, which is another problem with the lack of student oversight or at least review and input by students with this. And so this resolution is attempting to solve some of these problems. So what does this resolution do? This resolution makes KSU SGA's official stance that we are in opposition of this fee and we request the elimination or substantial reduction of this fee. We also are requesting a presentation from KSU administration before the end of the fall semester, basically detailing where the money has been spent on this fee, just so we could see if they're really spending the money on what administration says they are, and if it's going to resources that are beneficial, and if students are getting the most out of their extra $70 per credit hour. And finally, we're also requesting that the global campus fee be added to the tuition and fee strategies review cycle, just so we can get some student oversight on these decisions and make sure that our hard-earned student dollars are being spent in the best way possible. So tonight, I hope you'll join me in voting yes on this resolution, so that we can hopefully see some significant and substantial change and better put student dollars to work. So with that, I will take any questions that anyone has of me. In addition, I know that I've had a couple of requests to be added as an author, and if anyone else wants to be added as an author, I would be more than welcome to add anyone. And so with that, I am now open for questions.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Caucus Leader Phillips? Senator Panicatu.
Hi. So I think this is just more of a general thing. Has the administration ever given like a presentation to SGA before?
So not specifically on this fee, on various different issues, we receive presentations though. I know that the Chief Financial Officer, Ethan Erickson, at least comes to Senate once per year to give us a presentation. I know that our SGA leadership has meetings with President Myers, Dr. Thomas Lane, CFO Erickson, Provost Tabor, different things like that. But yeah, we do have administration has come to Senate before to give presentations. And then Natalia, I just saw, and you're more than welcome to be added as an author.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Senator Levi.
I'm still muted. There we go. Hi. I was just wondering if any of this resolution tries to consider like maybe the financial impact of like, say hypothetically, this were passed to its greatest extent of just removing the fee altogether. Is there some alternative funds that would try to compensate for this loss of revenue, or is it just a net loss from the university's perspective?
Yeah, so so basically my stance on this throughout the creation of this resolution was really that because there was such like a lack of student input to this, personally, I don't think that this fee should exist. There are many other universities and institutions that aren't charging anything extra for online courses, just because, to be honest, it's the right thing to do in the COVID pandemic, and just because students are almost essentially required to take online only classes. Not officially, just that's kind of how the math works out, for lack of a better term. So personally, I don't think that students should be the ones having to pay for it, especially without any representation with this fee. And so, yeah, that's my stance on where that goes.
Any further questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Blake, and I will now entertain any debate in the negative. Any further debate in the positive? Senator Dillavo.
No, it's Dillavo, you're good. Personally, I do not have an issue with the fee, but every student that I've spoken to about it has very similar thoughts to the ones that are expressed in this bill, and they would like some questions about the student input that has been had, and that's why I feel positively about it, that it seems to reflect the thoughts of the students that I've talked to.
All right, any questions for Senator Dillavo? Okay, any debate in the negative? Further debate in the positive? Any debate at all? Okay, seeing no further debate, we will now move into just like a sort of hand-raised vote. So if you remember from past resolutions that we've done, just use the yes, no feature in the participants tab. So just that little bar, you click on participants and then click the green arrow or the red X. If you are proxying for someone, please just DM me your proxy's vote. And then if you choose to abstain after the first round of votes, I will clear all of those and we will count abstentions. Okay, I'm going to clear those votes, and if anyone wishes to abstain after I clear this, please just click yes. Okay, seeing none, that lands us at resolution 33 passing 40 to 1 to 0. Okay. Oops, I scrolled the wrong way. Going back to our agenda. Good grief, where am I? There we go. That wraps up final action. We have no introduction of minor allocations. So now we will go into introduction of legislation. Can I please have a motion to consider Bill 2021-16, creation of the special committee on officer compensation reduction? All right, so moved by Senator Glasscock and second by Caucus Leader Atchison. Will the author of Bill 16 please come forward?
Hi everyone. So Nathan couldn't make it tonight, so I am going to read Bill 16 for you all. First, I'm going to pull it up on my own computer. Sorry for not being ready. Okay, there we are. Sorry about that. Bill 2021-16, Creation of the Special Committee on Officer Compensation Reduction by Michael Arnold, Nathan Bothwell, Lily Colburn, Ashton Hess, Annalee Hobbs, and Tel Whitmer. Whereas on October 8th, 2020, Student Senate passed Bill 2021-14 in response to financial challenges caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, resulting in over $2.2 million in budget callbacks to campus privilege fee entities. Whereas as a result of the privilege fee budget callbacks, a large number of student employees across campus had their employment terminated or were given a reduced number of hours. Whereas Student Governing Association received one of the lowest callback rates at approximately a 6% budget callback due to concerns regarding SGA officer compensation. Whereas SGA officer compensation rates are set by the Joint Committee on Officer Compensation, JCOC, which only reconvenes regularly once every 3 years and is not scheduled to regularly meet again until fiscal year 2023. Whereas the JCOC process is mandated to take place over 12 weeks by the SGA bylaws. Whereas any changes to SGA officer compensation need to be made before the end of the fall 2020 semester, as scholarship awards will be distributed to officers before the start of the spring 2021 semester. And whereas creating a special committee to review officer compensation rates for the spring 2021 semester would resolve issues associated with JCOC's schedule and would allow SGA the opportunity to serve as a model and leader for campus partners. Be it resolved that Section 1, there is hereby established the Special Committee on Officer Compensation Reduction. Section 2, the Special Committee on Officer Compensation Reduction shall be chaired by the following individual who shall not be a voting member: Kristen Shao. Section 3, the Special Committee on Officer Compensation Reduction shall consist of the following voting members: Robert Gomez or designee from Student Financial Assistant Representative, Jansen Penny, appointed Student Representative, Grace Wheeler, appointed Student Representative, Bren Carlson, Student Senate Representative, Creighton Glasscock, Student Senate Representative. Section 4, the committee shall review the compensation and scholarship rates for KSU SGA officers that will receive compensation in the spring 2021 semester. Section 5, the committee shall review and decide compensation rates after performing a survey of all currently compensated officers regarding changes in responsibilities, personal financial impacts, suggested decreases offered, and overall impact on the SGA budget, KSU SGA budget. Section 6, the committee shall only have the power to reduce the compensation rate of SGA officers for spring 2021 semester. Section 7, all decisions made by the committee regarding officer compensation amount shall require a unanimous vote from the voting members. Section 8, the committee shall submit its final recommendations on officer compensation for the spring 2021 semester in bill form to the Speaker of the Student Senate by Monday, November 16th, 2020, to be voted on by Student Senate. Section 9, upon approval by the Student Senate, KSU SGA will return the amount of compensation reduced by the committee to the overall privilege fee budget to assist with fiscal year 2021 privilege fee deficit. Section 10, the Special Committee on Officer Compensation Reduction shall dissolve upon approval of its recommendations. Section 11, this legislation shall take effect upon passage of the Student Senate and signature of the student body president. With that, I stand for questions.
Are there any questions for Chair Colburn? Chair Brown?
Can I be out as an author, please?
Yeah, I don't really have that authority, but I guess I do, so yes.
Okay, any further questions? All right, seeing none. Oh, I see a motion in the chat to special order Bill 2021-16. Can I have a second for that, please? Seconded by Senator Croslow. That motion was moved by Caucus Leader Phillips. I don't know if I mentioned that. Okay, so we've special ordered things before about how this will work. Since it's been seconded, we will vote on it again with the participants yes, no feature. DM me your proxy voices, votes, excuse me. And this does take 2/3 to pass. And then I will also clear the chat again for abstentions. So yes.
Hang on, Maggie.
What's up?
We'll have to move into debate first.
Yeah. No. Okay, sorry. I knew that. Yeah, so since you made that, Caucus Leader Phillips, you have first right to debate.
Thanks, Maggie. Yeah, thank you guys. I hope that today you'll join me in voting to special order this bill. I know that this bill is definitely a big change and something that, I think I would personally like to see. However, special ordering this bill tonight is the only way that this is going to get done. When we look at the timeline of this bill, really, if this were to pass tonight, the committee would have 2 weeks to send out a survey, deliberate and make their decisions, and then come back to Student Senate, where it would ultimately need to be special ordered again. And so I am personally for this, just because I want to see this bill happen. I think that there's a lot of great work that needs to be done. When we look specifically at the timeline for this, these changes have to be made by the end of the fall semester, or else they're going to have no impact at all. And so the timeline on this bill is very short, and so that's why special ordering it tonight is so important. And so I really hope that you will join me in special ordering it so that the committee can get started on their work and we can give them as much time as possible with so little remaining to do their work. And then ultimately, if you don't like the outcome of their decisions, I would encourage you to vote the bill down later rather than tonight by not special ordering it. So please join me in special ordering it, and I am open for any questions.
All right, I'm so sorry about that, everyone. I made myself a note to remember to not do that, but here we are. Are there any questions for Caucus Leader Phillips?
Chair Booz.
Okay. Sorry, yeah, Chair Booz, I didn't see that you had your hand raised there.
Yeah, it's always weird to figure out, if you should put it in the chat or if you should raise your hand or whatever. So yeah, like, were you mentioning like that you believe you should vote down this bill or the bill that the committee produces?
No, so basically, my argument here, I think that it's very important to special order this bill so the committee can do their work. Essentially, if it weren't special ordered tonight, I don't see a feasible way where the committee would be able to do their work. So I would encourage all of Student Senate to pass this by special ordering it tonight to allow the committee to do the work. And then if they don't like the outcome of their decisions, that's when they should vote it down rather than tonight.
Okay, can I get a follow-up?
Yes.
Okay. So I mean, once we special order this, we get the committee's bill in. This is a hypothetical, so you don't have to take it.
I'm cool with it.
Okay. But like, if the committee, if Student Senate disagreed with the output of the committee, would we or would we not, would that lead to no cuts at all in compensation? Is that correct? I believe that's correct, but I'm not entirely sure.
So at least the way I see it, I think that amendments could probably be made. At least I'd assume so because it's a piece of legislation. But yeah, I guess my answer to that is I would definitely encourage Senate to give this committee the opportunity to see the outcome of the results. If that kind of answers the question.
Okay.
I hope it does. If it doesn't, I can try it again. But
no, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, are there any further questions for Caucus Leader Phillips? Okay, seeing no questions, is there any debate in the negative for the special order? Any further debate in the positive? Any debate at all? Okay, seeing none, now we will use the participants tab and like the private message feature in the chat if you are a proxy for voting. Again, 2/3 to pass. So thank you. Okay, I will now clear all of those votes for any abstentions. Okay, thank you. Okay, with that, the motion to special order this bill passes 40 to 1 to 2. So now we will move into final action on Bill 16. Lily, since you are sort of like the sponsor and whatnot of this bill tonight, you have first right to debate.
Yeah, so hello again, everyone. Thanks for special ordering. I just wanted to start off by saying that I personally am in favor of passing this bill, but this debate at the moment is going to be focused on some notes that Nathan sent me, in fact, a whole speech. Again, he couldn't make it tonight, so act as though this were coming from Nathan. But good evening, Student Senate. I hope you're able to forgive me for my absence tonight. I wanted to offer my personal thoughts and reflections on the Committee on Officer Compensation before you proceed to your vote tonight. Since initiating the privilege fee process for the first time this term back in April, I've been baffled and stuck on how to handle SGA's current budget situation. While many privilege fee entities are important and meaningful to students on campus, a decrease to the SGA budget directly impacts me and the organization that I love so dearly. It was difficult for me to consider contemplating a budget cut to the entity that I personally see great value in. However, this second round of budget callbacks that we passed a few weeks ago gave me great pause. I can still easily recall the pit in my stomach as Tell, Madison, and myself read impact statements that explicitly stated that students would be fired as a result of our decisions. It was very difficult for me to make that first decision, but I tried to remind myself that as leaders, we are sometimes called to make difficult or unpopular decisions. I reassured myself that I was going to do the right thing. Fast forward a week or two, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I had made a mistake. Why had I prioritized my own budget in SGA so much? I told myself that SGA is different. I had hard decisions to make. I had stresses on myself, or I had stresses on me. I told myself that I deserved my full compensation amounts and was working hard for them. And was I wrong? Not really. Many members of SGA are working hard for their compensation, and a great many more are working hard without any pay at all, just because they believe in our mission to serve the students of this campus. But you know who else has worked hard on this campus? The reporters at the Collegian, the student employees at the Union, the healthcare professionals at Lafine. This pandemic is forcing us all to work harder with less resources And unfortunately, instead, we handed down our resolution and said, deal with it. A leader is supposed to make hard decisions, but leaders should also be willing to stand alongside those they represent. My own financial situation isn't any more or less important than the situation of the students across our campus. And I can assure you that if I was doing this job only for the pay, it wouldn't be worth the stress, responsibility, or criticism that I receive. The more I reflect, the more resolved I have become about this situation. It is not only quote unquote good optics for SGA to continue reviewing our own budget. It is the right and moral thing to do. I say this knowing full well that if I receive a pay decrease, it will force me to make difficult decisions about how I pay my rent or go grocery shopping next semester. But that's okay. I sacrifice a little of my own security, as so many other students were forced to because of a decision that I made and I was responsible for. I implore you all to vote yes on Bill 2021-16, as we shouldn't back off from a problem because it requires self-sacrifice. Without sacrifice, what kind of leaders would we be? As Chair Colburn, and I'll try to answer any that you have. I've talked to Nathan about this a bit, so I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, are there any questions for Chair Colburn? Chair Booz, I see your hand.
Yeah, this is kind of, I mean, this would be better asked to Nathan, and, you know, I wish he was here as well. But like, you know, in his notes or in your opinion, you know, is it that cutting our budget is right and moral, or is it that this committee specifically is right and moral?
Yeah, I just turned off my video because I have some poor internet connection, but I'm still here and hope you heard the speech. Personally, I don't know how Nathan would answer, but personally, I think that cutting our budget is right and moral. I'll try not to go too much beyond the question scope there, but just to turn it a little bit, I think that evaluating our own budget, whether or not we cut it, evaluating our own budget is right and moral and should be done. And this is the only option that we have to do that right now. Whether or not a different process would have been better to enact 2 months ago, we can debate about that, sure, but this is what's in front of us, and this is the decision that we have to make to do the right thing here and now. Were there better decisions? Maybe. Are there any other decisions that are going to be better than this one that come up a week from now? No.
Okay, thanks.
Further questions for Chair Colburn? All right, seeing none, is there any debate in the negative for Bill 16? Further debate in the positive? Chair Brown.
Hi, everyone. So I just also wanted to give some of my thoughts and why I am in support of this piece of legislation and creating this committee. Obviously, we have had to cut a lot from our budgets in the spring as well as this fall. And evaluating Student Governing Association's budget, I think there were times where we looked and said, there's nothing that we can change about this budget because JCOC is legislated, and that's that, and we didn't look further into it. And I think for the time that we were doing that, that was okay. But now I think we have the opportunity to look further into JCOC and maybe kind of correct some of those decisions that we made in the fall or spring whenever we didn't further decrease SGA's budget. One main reason that I am in support of this piece of legislation is because I want Student Governing Association to be good stewards of our student dollars. And I think one thing that we have seen is that some people's jobs have changed due to COVID. So this means that they might not be working the same amount of hours that they typically were. And whenever we're looking at our student compensation and how the reason that that is there is for us to go through with these jobs in Student Governing Association, if there is a decreased workload, I personally think that to be good stewards of our student dollars, that we should probably change that compensation to better associate the new workload that they're having. So that's kind of my first reason why I'm in support of this bill, but also the second reason is we were pretty difficult on some other entities. I was in those conversations with Nathan where we were having to, make some hard decisions that were going to greatly impact students, faculty, and the services that were being offered. I really think that this committee is laid out well in terms of JCOC. We've had quite a few conversations about it, and I'm hoping that there will be some great discussions in the committee that will look at all the different sorts of things, such as changes in work, student financial situation, etc. But I think that this is the best way to go forward, and I will now stand for questions.
Any questions for Chair Brown? Okay, seeing no questions, is there any debate in the negative on Bill 16? Chair Booth.
Yeah, hi everyone. It is hard to debate negative on this. And so I wanted to start out with a little, some disclaimers that you would want to know when evaluating my speech right now, as well as maybe other people's speeches as well. But first, that I speak on behalf of myself and not my committee, just to make that clear. The second thing is I am compensated. It's about $437 a semester, which is 10% of 14 credit hours of tuition. Third, I'm rather attached to my compensation because I was also Senate Operations Chair last year, and I did the same work as I've done this year without any compensation. And I was grateful that it was nice that JCOC had recognized that this position does a lot of work. But also, I'm in a reasonably good financial situation, and so depending on what happens, I'm okay. And then finally, that I'm glad that the members of the committee are willing to do this, and that there have been significant thought put into the checks and balances on the committee and in Student Senate in general. So first, I wanted to start off with kind of a defense of voting no, and especially around three different points. The first one would be kind of lawfulness. I've for a long time just would have described myself as a more lawful person according to like the D&D standard. If you've ever seen one of those alignment chart memes from D&D and that sort of thing, I definitely fall on the lawful side. And really what that means is that, when we have rules and if they work and if they make sense, then I'm loath to avoid them or loath to go around them just because of one situation. And so like JCOC, for instance, that does take a lot of time. But we also, at some point in the past, established it so that we can't change our own compensation very quickly. We thought that that was a good thing in the past. And I still believe that generally not being able to change our compensation that quickly is good. We shouldn't go around it, and we shouldn't go around it now. For instance, since this is a regular bill, a previous speaker had said that maybe we could make amendments, and JCOC bills are explicitly prevented from being amended to avoid the sort of thing where you amend it on the floor, make sure that somebody's to make sure that somebody else's pay goes up or your own pay goes up. And so I think that that's one of those protections that is built into the system that we are abandoning by doing this. Generally, I wish we had been tougher on SGA. It's also very hard to cut, to be tough on something that is yours, and I very much understand that. And this isn't a criticism of anyone, but I wish we had called JCOC back when we were just starting this process in order to make these changes instead of having to make them last minute. And so now I wanted to move on to my last point, which is what we can do now. I think previous speakers have stated that like this is the only way forward, that this is the only thing that we can do. And I don't believe that's true. I believe that we can make voluntary cuts to our own pay, give up our own pay. I mentioned at the beginning that like, yeah, I'm in a relatively good situation. I would definitely give up at least part of my salary because I understand that it is a moral thing to do so at this moment. And, I'm sure a few other people are as well. We have good people in the top leadership here, and I'm sure that a few people would as well. Making it to going up to a 10% SGA cut, which would be an extra $3,000 ish. That wouldn't be easy, but we can do it. And so, ultimately, I don't believe that we need this committee to move forward. I don't believe that this committee is the only option to be moral or ethical in this situation. And I don't believe that we should go around the processes that are established to provide protections around our pay. Thank you, and I would be more than willing to answer any questions.
Any questions for Chair Boos? Okay, seeing no questions, now, thank you, Chair Boos. We will move into any further positive debate. All right, Caucus Leader Phillips.
Yeah, hello again, everyone. So I am going to be starting off this debate, I guess, with just my perspective. I'm an uncompensated member of SGA. I believe the first one we've had speak tonight on this bill. And so I'm also a member of the Privileged Fee Committee. I was not a part of the group of Chair Brown, President Whitmer, and Speaker Bothwell, who made the original allocation, but I was a member of the Privileged Fee Committee who had the opportunity to review and make adjustments to that budget. So I'm going to take this debate a little bit from a perspective of SGA as a privileged fee entity, which we are. And so when we look at SGA as a privileged fee entity, essentially, in a way, we're on the same timeline as every other entity when these cuts were made. So, we figured out our total amount that we were going to be cut. Our bill was still contingent upon passage of Senate, so SGA's amount could have changed. And so I completely agree with previous speakers stating that, JCOC might have been the best way to do this. However, we ultimately didn't know what the financial impact on SGA would be until this bill was passed by the Student Senate, which is the exact same timeline as every other entity on the privilege fee. And so when this happened, and while we were making our decisions, we didn't go and ask every privilege fee entity, how will every member of your entity or organization personally be affected by this? Like, what's your financial situation? We also didn't ask them how they determine their compensation rates. If they had a committee like the Joint Committee on Officer Compensation that we've talked about tonight. And so we didn't take these things into account. And personally, I don't think that that's, I think that that's something that maybe we overlooked a little bit, but also I don't think that it's something that should prevent us from decreasing our budget even further. We threw 2 different rounds of insufficient funds cuts, and the first time at SGA, I believe it was a 0% cut. And then the last time it was 6 or 7. And so the reason that we stayed this low of a decrease was because of JCOC. But as we see with this bill in front of us, we have an opportunity not to circumvent this, but I would say to basically allow our compensation rates to be decreased due to the given situation. With there's a quote out there: "With every rule, there's an exception." And in my opinion, 2020 has been the exception of all rules, just in general. And so we really didn't have any idea about needing to call JCOC earlier. I don't believe that we would have had time for this process since the moment that we knew what our allocation cut was going to be. So no matter what happened, in my opinion, this would be the route that we were going to take. And personally, like previous speakers have mentioned, job responsibilities and level of activity have changed due to COVID. That's something that I think should definitely be considered, just because we were so harsh on other entities because of how they've changed due to COVID. And so I think that being good stewards of student dollars is extremely important in this. but also just looking at, setting an example and being, just showing that we're not above everyone else as far as the privileged entity goes. We may be the ones deciding this because we're elected leaders, but we need to hold ourselves to the exact same standard as every other entity. And because we didn't ask them what their financial processes or personal situations were, I think that we should be holding ourselves to the exact same standards. And so I hope you'll join me in voting yes for this bill tonight, and I will open myself up to any questions.
Are there any questions for Caucus Leader Phillips? All right, seeing no questions, is there any debate in the negative? All right, further debate in the positive? Chair Colburn.
Yeah, hi. So just one last time. I just wanted to come in, kind of give my personal reasons for supporting this piece of legislation. So again, just as other speakers have given for transparency, I'm also a compensated officer for my role as GR chair. However, I served in an uncompensated role last year, and that role is still uncompensated intern coordinator. So I kind of have perspectives of both working as someone who spends a lot of time working on SGA that's not compensated, and someone who spends a lot of time working on SGA that is compensated. And while that, yes, plays into my decision, I think really what plays more into my decision is some of the things that Nathan touched on, and just that I think this is the right thing to do. I understand the hesitancy when it comes to messing with the JCOC process. It is a very strict process for a reason, so that we never increase our allocations or, specifically decrease someone out of like spite or revenge. We are still a student government, and I guess people at higher levels of government do that as well. So I think the JCOC rules are there for a reason, but if you haven't heard it enough already, these are unprecedented times, or whatever you want to call them. So I think for this exceptional year, we need an exceptional solution. Do I think that there should really ever be a special committee on officer compensation reduction again? Not unless there's a global pandemic and the privilege fee is facing essentially a 25% drop in expendable revenue. If that happens again, sure, we should do it again, but hopefully we've learned from our mistakes, and those are documented well enough that we can truly call JCOC especially next time and not create a special committee. I also definitely love rules and follow them. I think in my time in SGA, I've interacted with enough people to realize I'm not quite as lawful as I thought I was, but I do like rules and I do like processes, but I think we can all agree that this is a really unique time and a really difficult decision to make that requires an outside body to do. And yeah, I think that's what it comes down to, is that this is the right thing to do, and it will be done quickly, and we as Senate can look to reject as a whole or accept as a whole, and we can look at that when the time comes. But I think we should at least let the committee move on with this process and see what they come up with and make decisions later about whether or not we want to accept it. But this is an exception, and I think it's not one that's going to create a precedent of calling random JCOC committees all the time. I think we all understand the difference that this semester has compared to any other semester of any other person on campus in like collective memory. Yeah, I think you all understand that, and for those reasons, I'd urge you to vote yes, despite some hesitancies with messing with the process. It's the right thing to do.
Are there any questions for Chair Colburn? Okay, any debate in the negative? Further debate in the positive? Any more debate at all? Okay, Seeing none, we will now move into a roll call vote on Bill 16. So if you'll excuse me for just a sec, I will turn it over to Intern Saya.
Okay, everybody. Atchison.
Yes.
Bain.
Yes.
Booz.
No.
Brown.
Yes.
Bruce. Brummett.
Yes by proxy.
Bruna. Burke. Carlson.
Yes, by proxy.
Clements.
Yes.
Colburn.
Yes.
Croslow.
Yes.
De Santiago. Diaz de Leon.
Yes.
Dillaboo.
Yes.
Doc.
Yes.
Fox. Frederick.
Yes.
Gallardo.
Yes by proxy.
Garrett.
Yes.
Glasscock.
Yes.
Grills.
Abstain by proxy.
Grolmes.
Yes.
Hamlin.
Yes.
Harmon. Hurd.
Yes.
Heimerman.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Hutchings. Jambunathan.
Yes.
Kidd.
Yes.
Levi.
Yes.
Loya.
Yes.
Manners.
Yes.
McKee. McVeigh. Muthukumar.
Yes.
Knoll.
Yes.
Norwood. Nunnick.
Yes.
Panakachu.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Porter. Purdy.
Yes.
Rischenberg.
Yes, by proxy.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Rossi.
Yes.
Shunjay. Blaine Snyder.
Yes.
Ben Snyder.
Yes.
Vance.
Yes, by proxy.
Vulgamore.
Yes.
Wallace.
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
Wells. Wilcox.
Yes.
Willis.
Yes.
Windholtz. Thank you. Did you get a vote on Senator Hutchings? Okay. On a vote of 46 to 1, that passes.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, Intern Saya. With that, we will move back into introduction of legislation, and we'll pick up with Bill 2021-17, fiscal year additional on-campus allocations funding from reserves. Is there a motion to consider Bill 17? So moved works just fine. All right, moved by Senator Vogelmore. Can I get a second for that? Second by Senator Croslow. Thank you so much. Will the author of Bill 17 please come forward? That would be anyone from the On-Campus Allocations Committee. All right, that's okay. I can just read it for everyone. Bill 2021-17, FY 2021 additional on-campus allocations funding from reserves by the On-Campus Allocations Committee. Whereas the On-Campus Allocations Committee's activities greatly affect the college experience of many Kansas State University students and faculty, whereas the budget for the student activity fee was cut by 80%, by the Privilege Fee Committee due to a decrease in enrollment, leaving OCAC with minimal sources to fund student organization events. Whereas OCAC is still expecting numerous organizations to submit requests for funding this fiscal year, whereas it is necessary to ask approval of the Student Governing Association for the disbursement of additional funding to campus organizations out of the Reserve for Contingencies account. And whereas if the approval for additional funding is not passed by the Student Governing Association, then any funding requests for this fiscal year will be denied due to the lack of funds. Be it enacted that Section 1, there be a one-time $10,000 increase to the on-campus, to the campus organizations account for the On-Campus Allocations Committee from the Reserve for Contingencies account, and then that's just the name of the account. Section 2, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the Student Body President, these funds shall be allocated to the budgeted amount for campus organizations from the Reserve for Contingencies amount. And then Section 3, upon passage, a copy of this bill shall be sent to Amy Lee, Center for Student Involvement Accountant, to comply with internal auditing procedures. I can try to answer any questions that anyone may have, unless any authors of that bill are present and willing to answer. Chair Brown.
Hello. I was wondering if you happen to know if there are any current OCAC applications.
I believe so. I was messing around on Org Central the other day, and I think there might be one or two, and I might be getting that mixed up with travel as well. But I do believe that there are one or two.
Okie dokie, thank you.
Any further questions that I could try to answer? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on with our agenda. Oh dear, sorry, I keep doing that. Okay, up next is Resolution 2021-34, appeal to Kansas State University to adopt inclusivity features on campus. Could I please have a motion to, consider Resolution 34? All right, so moved by Caucus Leader Phillips and seconded by Chair Booz. Will the author of this piece please come forward?
Hello, everyone. My name is Richard Solomon. This is Resolution 2021-34, appeal to Kansas State University to adopt inclusivity features on Canvas. It was authored by me and the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. Whereas misgendering is defined as intentionally or unintentionally referring to, relating to, or using language to describe a person that does not align with their affirmed gender, whereas misgendering has certifiable adverse mental health effects, especially for transgender persons. Whereas appropriate use of an individual's pronouns can establish an environment of safety and validation, Whereas as of January 2020, Canvas, the learning management system for K-State Online, has included a feature that permits, but does not require students to select gendered pronouns as a part of their Canvas profile settings. Whereas such settings improve inclusion with respect to a self-identity in an online environment by assisting all students in the appropriate gendering of their instructors and peers, and Kansas State University has committed to maintaining a demonstrable commitment to diversity inclusion in all aspects of existence as an institution. Be it resolved that Section 1, the Kansas State University Student Governing Association requests that Kansas State University modify the administrative settings for K-State Canvas to enable the selection of gender pronouns by students under Canvas profile settings. And Section 2, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to the Dean of Agriculture and Research and Extension, Ernie Minton, Dean of Architecture, Planning and Design, Tim Day Mobile, Dean of Arts and Sciences, Amit Rob Barte, Dean of Business and Administration, Kevin Gwinner, Dean of Education, Debbie Mercer, Dean of Engineering, Matt O'Keefe, Dean of Graduate School, Kara Shanklin, Dean of Health and Human Sciences, John Buckwalter, Dean of K-State Olathe, Jackie Spears, Dean of Kansas State Polytechnic, Elisa Starkey, Dean of Veterinary Medicine, Bonnie Rush, Dean of K-State Global Campus, Karen Peterson, Chief Information Officer, Gary Pratt, Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer, Dr. Brian Samuel, LGBT Resource Center Coordinator, Brandon Haddock, and finally, Vice President for Student Life and Dean of Students, Dr. Thomas Lane. I am now open for questions.
Any questions for intern Salman?
I believe there was one in the chat.
Yeah.
There's a change.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair Colburn. I will note that. And then Senator Dillevue.
Hey, so I guess I'm kind of confused by some of these whereas clauses. Is the current state of this that you can select pronouns, but you don't have to? And we're asking them to make that more, like,
So,
is it not enabled right now?
It is not enabled currently, and that's
Okay.
what we would be having
Okay.
them do. Yeah.
Okay. Chair Brown.
Hello, I was wondering if you have had any conversations with IT or administration, one, about the possible cost of this, if there is any, and then two, about like the feasibility of this being enacted on our platform.
So I haven't had any conversation with faculty, but the research I've done online has, one, shown it's free because various other organizations already have it. It's an included feature on campus that has existed since the beginning of this year. And second, the process for administrators like allowing it to exist and for it to exist on students' Canvas pages is they simply click a button that allows it to activate it, and they add the various pronouns that are in the selections, and they click done, and then it should show up on the Canvas for students.
Great, thank you. Can I have a small follow-up question / amendment?
Granted.
I agree with the previous speaker. Reading this, I was kind of confused. I think it might be beneficial if after the whereas clause where you say they include a feature that permits this, that you just state like Kansas State University's Canvas currently does not utilize or have this feature enacted, just to clarify that it's not something we're currently doing.
Okay. Also, just for clarification, this will be referred back to DEI, so we'll have the opportunity to look over that there. Chair Boos.
Yeah, hey Richard, nice to see interns writing legislation. Let's see, what was the thought process behind sending it to all of the college deans who like normally wouldn't be involved?
Just to let them know about it. Obviously, the important ones are like the diversity and inclusion officer, the chief information officer, and the vice president for student life and dean of students. But just sending it to the various ones we thought would be a good idea because it would allow them to kind of notify their individual students that it does exist, because it will obviously be accessible, but implementing it on a quick basis will not be something that students will probably be aware of. And Chair Rodriguez can also answer that.
I was the one that suggested adding all of the deans so that way
let faculty know that the pronouns for their students are on Canvas, and if they want to be proactive and being inclusive, they can look on Canvas, see which students are comfortable with what pronouns, and then that way, whenever they're referring back to their students, they know which pronouns they have to use without having to ask them or without students having to correct them. So that way, if like, let's say I'm a TA or something, and then I see my students and whoever choose their pronouns, if they have certain pronouns that they want to use, I'm like, oh, Natalia, she uses she and hers. I don't have to ask her, I just know because I can see it. And that avoids like a lot of confrontation from people that are usually not comfortable like telling you which pronouns they use. So that way it's easier for them as well.
Yeah, actually, can I get a small follow-up?
Granted.
Yeah, since this resolution is like, asking them to include this feature and it's not active yet, like would that actually have that effect?
Like, sorry, I'm confused. Are you asking like if when we activate this feature, will it have an effect?
Yeah. I mean, actually, like after thinking that question was a little debate. So, I mean, I was just thinking like, there could be a large gap between when this gets transmitted and when it actually gets put into effect. And so, so it's possible that the deans may not have remembered this resolution by that time.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think for me personally, just allowing it to exist on Canvas and for students being able to see that, I feel like most of us already put our pronouns in like Zoom calls and on different like mobile websites like our social medias. And so having another platform to do that we all use on a daily basis, I feel like the students will take the initiative, and sending it to the deans is just an extra step to allow for that inclusivity and usefulness.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Okay, Senator Dillevue, I see you have a question.
Does this Canvas feature allow for the selection of pronouns outside the binary, like they, them?
Yes, it does.
Fantastic.
Any further questions? I actually do have a quick question, if that's okay. Does this feature allow for like the person with the Canvas profile to go in at any time and edit that?
Yes, it should. It's kind of a thing that you can constantly change. It's similar to the profile settings for your name, for your profile picture, etc. And so it's a thing that's not stuck in place, and it's not a thing that has to be approved by any sort of administrator.
Thanks so much. Chair Brown.
Hi, sorry, I have another question. Has there been any conversation around DEI that whenever this is hopefully implemented, how professors and faculty approach this topic? Because I also know, or my question is like, I would hate for a professor to say like everyone has to put their pronouns on Canvas, because I do know sometimes that pronouns aren't something that people necessarily know what they identify with. And so I was just wondering like if there's any conversation on like how to properly approach that. Yes.
So first off, there's an option on Canvas if this is implemented that you can put no pronouns, and it specifically says that. So that allows for students who feel uncomfortable or unsure of what they identify with to just not put anything. And then professors can ask from there what they do feel comfortable being identified as. Secondly, I feel like it's no different than us simply putting pronouns on Zoom or telling them to a professor like right away. The idea behind this is not like a ton of people may not put their pronouns on there, but it's allowing students to have the capability and normalizing the idea that pronouns are a thing that are important to our students, to our faculty, and to our administrators. And therefore, no matter whether someone puts it on there or doesn't put it on there, it's going to have an impact one way or another.
Thank you so much.
Okay, any further questions? Oh, time for questions has expired, so if there are any further questions, I'll seek a motion to extend. However, if not, we'll just let that run out. Okay, seeing no further questions and no motion to extend, let's go ahead and move on with our agenda. Sorry, I should have done this better. All right, that concludes introduction of legislation and puts us into second open period. I'm going to send the Senate shoutouts link really fast. if anyone wants to get any last minute ones in. Are there any second open period speakers this evening? Oh, Chair Booz, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, just quickly wanted to remark that, after now that the bill is passed, I'm looking forward to working with the Committee Officer Compensation Reduction, and want to say if any of them are here, like, I'm grateful that you're doing this because it isn't easy.
Thanks, Chair Booz. Chair Rodriguez.
Hi, friends. Halo is having a Dia de los Muertos Day of the Dead event next Monday. It's in collaboration with UPC. We're going to watch the movie The Book of Life. It's going to be in the courtyard at 5 p.m. So if anyone's interested in that, you're all invited.
Thank you, Chair Rodriguez. Chair Colburn.
Hey everyone, sorry for not including this in my committee report, but I guess it's a little unofficial. Election, it's like 4 days away. Wow, we've really gotten here very quickly. So just kind of some tips from your local political science student. Definitely, if you know a lot about, or even just like a little bit, like some websites that can help other students get engaged in the election in just these next few days, I would definitely recommend, whether if you have social media and kind of putting out there that people can ask you if they have questions about voting in the election. I am always really surprised at the number of people that do respond. I feel like we've really been inundated with like information about voting and advanced ballots and all of those things this year. But anytime that I like say, swipe up if you have any questions, I'm happy to like help you find answers to them. I always get people who are like, yeah, how do I find out where my polling place is? Or how do I find out who's on the ballot? So you never really know if someone still does have those lasting questions, and if you can kind of be that final piece of information that can help them vote and exercise their right. Second is, if you or anyone you know is still holding on to an advance mail ballot, then at this point, general recommendation from many people in many different areas of life are suggesting that you drop that off. If you're registered in Kansas, all polling locations on the day of elections will have ballot drop boxes, so you can actually drop one off really at any polling location. It doesn't even have to be your own assigned one. You can also always drop them off at like your county election office, and usually advanced voting places have drop boxes as well. That's not the case for every county, so put a little asterisk by that, but many do. So I definitely recommend, if you're holding on to one and you're registered in a different county, to try to get home this weekend, or give your ballot to someone to get it home for you. That's kind of the best option at this point. The USPS has been a little slow recently, and so it's just recommended. Although I will say that technically the law in Kansas is that if it is postmarked by Election Day and received 3 days after, then your vote will be counted. But just to play on the safe side, I recommend putting it in a ballot drop box. So there's that. Oh, also I saw another reminder that you cannot drop your ballot off at any drop box. It has to be at a drop box within your county. So if you're not registered here in Manhattan and here in Riley County, then you can't drop your drop box, your mail-in ballot here, you know, whether you're from Johnson or Sedgwick or any of the small counties, Tribune, that's not, yeah, that's a county. Love you, Noah. He's not on the call, but anyway, then you can definitely, you have to get those back to your home county. You can't drop them off like here in Riley County. That's that. I think I'll go ahead and send kind of the same information that I sent last time, of just like Vote 411 and Ballotopedia, which has information of what your candidates have said on various positions, and then also what your ballot will look like, just so that you can be prepared if you haven't voted yet, though I'm assuming that many of you have. I know I'm going to vote tomorrow in the Union. The Union has early voting tomorrow from 10 to 5, and then on Monday from 8 to noon, 10 to noon. Yeah, so you can still vote on campus if you're registered in Manhattan. I'm open to any questions. Thank you all so much. Final push, you got it. Stay sane.
Any questions for Chair Colburn? All right, seeing none, I'll turn it over to Caucus Leader Phillips.
Yeah, howdy everyone again. So as Speaker Pro Tem Billman mentioned earlier in the meeting, the Educational Opportunity Fund Committee just recently finished our initial evaluations of all of our proposals. And so we have sent out where we currently stand to each of the proposals for some feedback. And so next week on Wednesday at noon in CSI conference room, finally getting back in person a little bit, we will be meeting to discuss our final evaluations and hopefully make our final decisions on that. And so if you have any questions about what that committee is, what we do, or any of the proposals that we're doing, please feel free to reach out. I know that last year was a little bit crazy for that. And so yeah, feel free to reach out if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or anything, and go Cats. So if you have any questions, let me know.
Any questions for Caucus Leader Phillips? Okay, seeing none, are there any further second open period speakers? Okay, seeing none, it is now everyone's favorite time of evening. I'm going to stop screen sharing and I encourage everyone to turn on your video if you'd like. And I will read the Senate shout outs. We have 20 tonight, which is like the second most we've ever had. So thank you everyone for those. Let's see here. Oop. Sorry, I'm trying to move it around. Okay. Shout out to intern Saya for taking the meeting or the minutes tonight. Thanks to me for the governing docs event. Thank you all who came to that. I had a lot of fun getting to see people in person, so that makes me feel nice. Another shout out to me for being on the Cultivate podcast. That's like a really awesome service offered by the Collegian, so thank you to them for having me. Shout out to Caucus Leader Atchison for grabbing the bull by the horns and leading the College of Ag into success. Yeah, they have some resolutions coming down the pipe, so thanks to them. Thank you all for putting up with me chairing Senate. There's some nice ones in here for me. I won't read all of them, but thank you for those. I appreciate it. Go Nick for taking minutes and roll tonight. Great job. Shout out to Blake Phillips for working so hard on the student fee resolution. He seriously did. Like one Sunday afternoon, him and Booz and I spent like 2.5 hours working on it. And I know that he put in like probably 10 times that much work on that. So thanks so much. Blake, you're a gem. Nick for being an awesome secretary tonight. To Lily for being an awesome debater and great chair. Shout out to intern Salman for the legislation tonight and to intern Saya for taking the minutes tonight. You all rock. Yes, our interns are the best. Shout out to Chair Colburn for always looking out for students and being an all-around great member of SGA. Your leadership has been a blessing to SGA. Another shout out, thank you for the governing document. I appreciate that. Shout out to Sarah Hyman for being a great resource to SGA and the EOF committee. We really appreciate you. This is really funny. There's just one, it says Chair Colburn, and then the next one says, whoops, sorry for the last one. I accidentally just typed the name and forgot the actual shout out. And then there's another one. It says, Chair Colburn has been doing an absolutely amazing job at promoting the election and helping people get access to the necessary resources. So I think maybe that was the one. And then shout out to Nick for doing an awesome job filling the Speaker Pro Tempore role today. All right, that concludes our Senate shout outs. Thank you everyone for listening, and I will share back to the agenda. All right. Are there any other second open period speakers? I just want to open that up one more time. Okie dokie. Seeing none, for reference of legislation, Bill 17 will go to the On-Campus Allocations Committee, and Resolution 34 will go to the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. There are no constitutional or bylaws revisions, and that takes us right back into second roll call with intern Saya.
Okay, everybody. Atchison.
Present.
Bain.
Here.
Booz.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Bruce. Brummett. Bruna. Burke. Carlson. Carr. Clements.
Here.
Colburn.
Here.
Crosslow.
Here.
De Santiago. Diaz de Leon.
Here.
Dillaboo.
Here.
Doc.
Here.
Fox. Frederick.
Here.
Gallardo. Garrett.
Here.
Glasscock.
Here.
Grills. Grolmes.
Here.
Hamlin.
Here.
Harmon. Hurd.
Here.
Heimerman.
Here.
Hernandez.
Here.
Hutchings. Jambunathan.
Here.
Kidd.
Here.
Levi.
Here.
Loya.
Here.
Manners.
Here.
McKee. McVeigh. Muthukumar.
Here.
Knoll.
Here.
Nunick.
Here.
Phillips.
Here.
Panikatu.
Here.
Porter.
Here.
Purdy.
Here.
Rickenberg. Rodriguez.
Here.
Rossi.
Here.
Shunjay.
Here.
Blaine Snyder.
Here.
Ben Snyder.
Here.
Vance. Volgamar.
Here.
Wallace.
Here.
Ward. Wells.
Here.
Wilcox.
Here.
Willis.
Here.
And Windholz. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right, with that, thanks. Okay, as Nathan says, we have exhausted all of our business for the evening. So I now seek a motion for adjournment. All right, from Caucus Leader Kidd, I move we adjourn until next week, same time, same virtual place, and seconded by Senator Crosslow. Thank you so much, everyone, and I hope you all have a wonderful and safe Halloween weekend.